Hey everyone, I'm going to talk about the September Gala reward competition and more new core changes coming to the game, as well as the new NFTs that will be sold a day before the competition begins, and finally show off a gift parcel build you could use for the next competition. The competition will be on September 20th, 2022, and the meta for points will be Gift Parcel, a new craft that will require one decorated cake, one pumpkin pie, and one sangria in order to craft. Gift Parcel will sell for 1.5 million in-game cash and will give 1 million points per each. Yes, you heard that right. That means 15 million in-game cash and 10 million points for a batch of 10. The reason the points are so exaggerated for this is because the Townstar team wanted to make sure that people did this meta if they wanted to remain competitive during this competition, as nothing else will come close to the points you get from the gift parcels. The gift parcel will be crafted in the boxing facility and the item will be stored in a warehouse. This competition features boosted cash for some items, but overall the meta for cash will be eggs, as they will be worth 6 times more their original amount at 10,000 in-game cash per egg. That's 100,000 in-game cash per batch of 10 eggs. You will want to be selling eggs at the beginning to remain competitive at the start, as it'll be the fastest way to build up cash. The reward for this competition will be Gala, and the reward structure will be the same as the previous Gala reward competition, requiring a top 1,000 placement, with better placements having a higher Gala payout. We recently had core changes to sugarcane and sugar in order to make it easier to get those items, and now we have new core changes to help with other crops and with issues regarding land rush. One of these come in the form of a new building known as the Shallow Mine. It's cheaper than Iron Mine at 15,000 in-game cash to place, but will still require 5 lumber, 5 wood, and 5 energy to build, and will still have a paved road edge requirement. However, instead of a mountain edge requirement, it will have an open world edge requirement. This means that any place you can normally place a trade depot or express depot, you can also place a shallow mine. So the whole point of this building is to give players access to iron, chromium, and limestone without the need of a mountain edge, which makes mountains unnecessary now but not useless. The only disadvantage of the shallow mine is that it is twice as slow as the regular iron mines. That means crafting items in the shallow mine takes twice as long. So for a blue steel or a wine build, you would still be better off having a mountain to save space on mines. But for a build like this one, where you won't be producing just wine all the time and you only need to produce a small amount, shallow mines will be perfect. The other changes that will help with land rush are the changes made to salt fields and sand mines. In case you don't know how these work, they both start with a red timer and need passive salty in order to have green timer for the fastest craft time possible. Keep in mind that passive sand will also allow sand mines to have green timers as well, but passive sand does not work for salt fields. So these changes will alter the craft timers of the salt fields and sand mines, reducing the crafting time for red timers and presumably yellow timers as well. This will help people craft brine or silica without an ocean edge, but it still isn't great. For comparison, you needed to have 16 salt fields at red timers to match 1 salt field at a green timer. But after these changes, you will need 6 salt fields at red timers to match 1 salt field at a green timer. This is roughly the same situation for sand mines as well. So on paper, a significant difference and definitely helpful, but in a realistic competitive situation, it's not viable, and you will still want to go for an ocean edge to craft these items, as it will save you easily 20 spots on average. As for the remaining changes to crops when the update goes live, pumpkin patch doesn't require a road to operate anymore. Pumpkins won't require wood to grow. Strawberries won't require wood to grow. Peppermint won't require wood to grow. And the peppermint required to craft candy canes has been reduced from 5 to 3. These changes will help a lot with wood and lumber balancing, but keep in mind that you would still need to balance wood and lumber because grapevines still require wood to grow. Hopefully they change that in the future as well. Now, this competition did boost the point value and cash value for several other items, but I'm not going to go over them as they aren't viable for most players. I can assure you that the majority of players will be rushing eggs at the start, and then get enough money to just go ahead and make their whole build and transition to gift parcels. Now I'm going to talk about the 2 new NFTs coming to Town Store that will be for sale, the Rare Bakery and the Rare Cakery. These NFTs will be sold in the Gala Games Store, and this should be happening on September 19th, 2022. Both have the utility of being immediately available to place, with the same edge requirements and proximity effects as their standard version, but do have a 20% wage reduction and a faster movement speed for the worker. There will be 2,150 of each available for sale, which is a relatively high supply. The Rare Bakery will sell for $110 and the Rare Cakery will sell for $130, purchasable in town only. They will be on sale for 48 hours, and if not sold out, will return in the future, likely at a higher price. So I'm going to be honest from the start, these sound like they could be useful, but I do not recommend these and don't expect these to sell out or even sell much of them. So I could tell you that the Rare Cakery got my attention at first because you're effectively saving 1 million in-game cash with that NFT, with the freedom to move it and use it very early in the game, opening the idea to a pumpkin pie rush. But in the big picture, it's just not viable. Pumpkin pie rush doesn't work well with just one of these, you would need several. And in the end, you're only using bakeries or cakeries on specific builds. I say this because I just think there are generally more effective NFTs you can get out there. So that's just my perspective on it. And finally, my gift parcel build showcase. No NFTs used. Keep in mind that as of recording and testing this build, the new additions and changes I've discussed haven't been added to the game and should be getting added before the competition begins. From my testing the past few days, this build will do at least 4 gift parcel per hour and on average up to 5 gift parcel per hour, as I've seen average rates of 5 decorated cake, 5 pumpkin pie, and 5 sangria per hour. Whether or not you use a Gusty Winds effect card and which rarity will greatly impact the effectiveness of this build. Also do keep in mind that the changes coming should allow you to improve the rates, as right now I seem to be having an issue crafting enough candy canes, and the reduced peppermint required for that will be lower as well, and many crops won't require wood to grow anymore, so that should improve your rates. Once again, this is using no NFTs. That also means no skins, no effect cards, and all current effect cards do help in this build, but specifically the Gusty Winds effect card helps the most. It uses an ocean and a mountain edge, although you don't need the mountain as you should be fine by using the shallow mines instead, although it will still limit your max rate possible if you use the same setup I have because of the slower craft times. An ocean is definitely recommended in order to have the green craft timers for brine, which ends up saving a lot of space, so therefore it is more competitive. I am using a single trade depot with 1 gas per sale. I don't think you can get away with a 2 gasoline sale location because of the amount of different items you will be auto selling during this build, so keep that in mind. For storage, I'm using 4 storehouses, 3 silos, 3 warehouses, and 2 lumber yards. I'm using 11 loggers, 7 farm tractors, 2 ATVs, and 1 forklift to collect items. I'm using 13 trees in total for all my source of wood. For gasoline production, I have your traditional passive energy and water drums set up here, and 2 crude oil pumps to supply all the crude oil necessary to refine petroleum and then gasoline. I have 1 boxing facility that will be used to craft gift parcels once the craft has been implemented in the game. For decorated cake production, I am using 1 chocolate shop to craft the decorated cake, and 1 chocolate shop to craft the chocolate bars, and 2 candy shops to craft candy canes. The chocolate bars require cocoa, which I'm getting from just 1 cocoa tree, negatively impacted by 1 salty to slow it down as I'm already producing more chocolate than I need. Candy canes require peppermint, which I am getting from 4 peppermint fields, although I think only 2 or 3 will be necessary once the new changes are implemented. One of the candy shops has only 4 of the 5 energy it requires, so it will manually use 1 energy being produced from the 1 windmill I have on a green timer. Now, of course, if you craft decorated cakes, you need to craft cakes first. For cake production, I have 1 cakery crafting cake, 2 cakeries crafting batter, and 2 bakeries crafting butter. Crafting these high tier items use all of the following different ingredients: flour, egg, milk, salt, and sugar. So I will show how I'm getting all of those. For flour, I have 2 wheat fields, although you may want to use 3 if you have a rare or better version of the Gusty Winds effect card. I have a total of 9 windmills crafting flour, all red timers. For eggs, I have 3 chicken coops and plenty of meadows. Both cakes and pumpkin pie will use eggs, so multiple chicken coops will be needed. For milk, I have 6 milk barns and plenty of meadows. It's a total of 19 meadows. For salt, I have 4 salt fields on green timers and 7 windmills crafting salt, all red timers. As for sugarcane, I'm using 5 sugarcane fields and a total of 14 windmills crafting sugar, all red timers. And I'm just showing you each windmill in case you need to copy this exact build, as well as these windmills right here crafting sugar. So 14 windmills, all on red timers crafting sugar. For pumpkin pie production, I am using 2 cakeries crafting pumpkin pies because I felt it was faster than having just the 1. But you really do want at least one of them to be very close to the storehouse that holds eggs the most. For the pumpkins, I used 4 pumpkin patches. Although this setup can support 6 pumpkin patches once the new changes are implemented. If you don't want more pumpkins, you just replace those 2 roads with tree farms instead. For sangria production, I am using 1 winery crafting sangria and 1 winery crafting Cabernet wine. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. For the strawberries used on the sangria, I'm using 1 strawberry field negatively impacted by 2 salty in order to reduce the rate at which I get strawberries. For the Cabernet wine production, I'm using 1 glass factory for the wine bottle, 1 lumber mill for the oak barrels, and 4 Cabernet vines for the Cabernet grapes. These vines will require wood to grow, which is why wood and lumber balance is important. The glass bottles will require silica, chromium, and limestone. I am using 1 sand mine on a yellow timer for silica, although after the new changes you will make more than enough silica by having a sand mine on a red timer. I'm using 1 mine for chromium and 1 mine for limestone. These mines have all the energy and water drums they need passively supplied to them, so they only need lumber. The reason I opted for passive water drums was so I wouldn't have to deal with that item in the warehouse, but also the reason people don't usually do that is because the water from a pond will negatively impact the timer on the mines, which slows down their crafting. In this case, this is exactly what I want, as I don't need to produce a crazy amount of minerals in order to craft the amount of wine bottles I will need. I believe this setup will also work with the shallow mines if you're not using a mountain, and should still be able to craft the items you need at a reasonable rate. The oak barrels will require oak wood and iron in addition to the energy that should be passively supplied by a nearby power plant. I'm using 1 oak tree, and this is just enough for all the oak wood I need. And 1 iron mine crafting iron, slowed down even further by having 2 ponds next to it. Even with a red timer, it will craft more than enough iron than necessary. The lumber is crafted by 1 lumber mill that still requires 1 energy every time. I did this in order to slow down the amount of lumber crafted in order to save more logs for crops. Remember, I have a windmill for the energy and it crafts enough energy to accommodate my lumber mill and candy shop using that energy. And I do have a dedicated spot for 1 builder house, since I can't put anything else in there. But it's good to have a dedicated builder spot in case you ever need to build something else or to tweak the build, basically. That's the whole build explained. If you do decide to copy it, you should also tweak it to work more efficiently once the new changes are implemented. Whether or not this build will get you in the top 1000 in the following Gala reward competition will depend on how effective your egg rush strategy will be at the beginning, since eggs will be heavily boosted in cash for the competition. That's all the information I have regarding the September Gala reward competition, the core changes, the upcoming NFTs, and this build showcase. I hope you enjoyed watching my informative video. I would appreciate it if you could like this video and leave a comment on your thoughts about this competition or my non-NFT gift parcel build. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to keep up with my content. Thank you for watching.